Welcome back to the Brotherhood Blitz, where rivalries are personal, dynasties are earned, and every snap means something. I'm here with my brother and co-host 49K, and we have a special episode today. And we're about to break down all the biggest moments, the toughest matchups, and the plays that changed everything.
Yeah, we got a very special episode indeed. We got a special guest, our second one ever, and first one of our second season for season 8. Captain Rush, welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. I've been waiting on you guys to invite me to this. I mean, it's taking you guys long enough, but better late than never.
And we're excited to have you and kind of get you in. We've been trying to find a perfect time to have a second guest outside of Cameron for the championship episode that we had last season. But we'll get right into this episode. Dylan, if you kind of want to get us started.
Yeah, before we get into week one of season eight, which, by the way, awesome first week, I do want to, touch little key notes about Rush here. And this is his first season as a head coach. And we just want to, pick your brain and see how far you've come and where you started.
Yeah, so I mean, like, this is my first official season. I started late last season. I don't remember exactly what week, but I took over ECU. Came out, won the first two games. Unfortunately, couldn't quite finish out the last two games, but this first week and this off season was something completely different. I started in this league in season 6 as the assistant head coach for Georgia, and transitioning from a assistant role to a head coaching role where like you're making the end decisions each week and during the off season on who's going to come play for you. And having that kind of weight was an adjustment to say. Um, Obviously, I had put in settings, I had simmed before, I'd done all this game planning stuff, but it's different when I'm the end all be all decision making wise. So that's kind of how I was feeling going into week one against a very good game planner in Cade. I mean, he's done this for years. And to pull out a win against him in my first official game of my first official season was something I'm not going to forget for the rest of the time I'm in these sorts of leagues.
Yeah, you did pull out quite a impressive win to say the least, going 1-0, which you can only do once, especially in your first season. That's not something that I didn't even get to do. I started 0-3 in season 4. Kind of walk us through your mindset going into week one and really kind of how your game planning going against your former squad of Georgia in week two.
Yeah, so game planning wise, week one, I knew we had some advantages against Arkansas. I felt like we had a better secondary and honestly a better defense overall. But I knew offensively it was going to be tough. I didn't know how their offense was going to play. It was in a book that I'd never gone against before. And obviously, a freshman quarterback could be anything. He could be incredible or he could, struggle in his first game. But watching that game, seeing first two drives be interceptions was not a good start. That was a little worrying, but able to kind of quell that as the game went on. Going into week two, man, it's tough going against the team that I spent my first two seasons with, and that I feel like I really helped build into what it is now. Obviously, me and Gene are good friends. He really got me into this coaching role my first season in the league, and since then it's been nothing but up from there. Obviously, wasn't great record wise my two seasons at Georgia, but I mean, I wouldn't have traded those two seasons for many things in this league. So it's definitely going to be interesting game planning wise. I would love to come out and win against my old team, but they have a great roster and especially have improved since the last two seasons.
And then you got any other questions?
No, that was perfect. That was great. It's definitely interesting to people listening into this, and even I learned a couple things that you said. Um, but yeah, it's exciting, and like my brother said, going 1-0 your first season, you can only do that once, and you accomplished it, and that's a huge accomplishment, and we're both excited to see where you take this season and the seasons to come.
Yeah, so Rush, we appreciate kind of the walkthrough and kind of picking your brain and seeing, kind of looking inside the mind of another head coach in the league and how kind of your mindset is week in and a week out basis. Let's get into our next topic. Dylan, kind of walk us through what we got next in store.
Yeah. After that, we got right into week one. We'll talk a little bit about each game and how they played out and our thoughts on them. Uh, but like we said, we had a fantastic. I believe this was my pick for game of the week in the previous episode. We had a season opener, the trilogy, Texas taking on Miami, and the game did not disappoint.
It did not disappoint at all. Being, the head coach of Texas, I'll be very short, and then Rush, I'll kind of get your thoughts on that game from outsider point of view. Very defensive game, not the way I exactly thought the game was going to go. I knew it was going to be a close game to the end, just not as low scoring. But you got to give credit to Swaggy for giving us a run for our money.
Absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off of what you said, this was a heavily defensive game. And for as an outsider, I think a lot of us expected this to be a very high scoring game. But I mean, defenses on both sides came out and played very well. I mean, Cole Powell, offensively, I wouldn't say struggled, but definitely a little bit step down of what you would think of a Texas signal caller coming off the heels of Remy. But the Texas defense, I mean, picked apart Marshall Law. He's a great quarterback. I had him last season at ECU, but 4 interceptions in your first game in a new uniform does not look great for your potential time here.
Yeah,
And
and
we'll go in.
sorry, just real quick, I want to touch base on this. What you said about Cole Powell, I completely agree. You know, I didn't know, as uh, big hand in game planning for Texas, I did not expect. Um, really, I didn't know what to expect with Cole Powell, as that's my player. Freshman QB going into this game facing the number one defense in the league. I did not know what to expect, and I knew I was either going to have a horrendous showing or I might do all right. And I think we got a little bit lucky there. And I did throw a pick, but uh, our defense showed out and got us the win there.
You'll get used to the picks I have.
And sorry to kind of cut you off, Dylan, but going into the second game of the opener on Tuesday, we had USC taking on Maryland, where Maryland gets the upset win over USC 29-24.
Yeah, Maryland coming in, Maryland, I will say you can never, you know, be too far against them. They're always, proving people wrong. Even last season, they had a few like huge upsets. And here's another one right here. You know, preseason rank 8 taking down, the previous national championships. FAU that rebranded into USC. But yeah, 29-24, and yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that have been here for a while know Convict is a very underrated coach and game planner. I mean, you come into this game and you see former national championship team playing against number 8, you might think, oh, well, this might not be a close game. But Convict is just a great game planner. Um, the fact that they shut down one of the number one or one of the top running backs last season in King Gideon, only holding him to 41 yards is extremely impressive for a team that was preseason ranked around middle of the pack.
Yeah, and even like piggybacking off of that, USC really didn't run the ball hardly as much as I thought they would. I mean, they 11 carries for 41 yards, 3.7 yards average as well. I mean, they Maryland held that rushing game to a very, very low amount. Now, Maryland didn't really run all that well either. They actually ran worse than I expected them to. But those huge runs that they got, especially later in the game by Cookie Cutter, those are the type of runs that can really make or break, especially if you were struggling for the most part in the running game. I mean, passing wise for both teams was, fun to watch.
I agree. Definitely fun game to watch, and especially the second game of the opening night. Both of these games were great to watch, and it's only a start of this season 8 in the VGL. Going on to the second night on Wednesday, we had LSU taking on Michigan, in which was another absolute fantastic game. Michigan outscoring LSU by 1 point in a 17-16 dogfight.
Also, was a game I did not expect to be that low scoring. I thought it was going to be one of the higher scoring games of the week potentially, and it was fun to watch, but also kind of disappointing in a way where both these teams' offenses struggled throughout the game, leading to a 1 point victory, and both teams not even hitting the 20 mark in the box score. Now, with LSU, welcoming a new head coach after week one, DT Hall coming back into the ranks and trying to go lead this LSU team into the promised land this season.
Yeah, and kind of on top of your point, the defenses were incredible. I mean, Michigan's defense played lights out. Bo Jackson had 3 sacks for Michigan. Yogi Barr had 9 tackles and a pick. I mean, you could say the offenses weren't playing well, but I think it's more so the defenses just shut them out. Another thing that I find really interesting is that LSU's passing attack, overall, you might not say it did terrible, but their number one receiver was Malachi Simpson, which, no disrespect to Malachi Simpson, but when you've got a wide receiver room that includes James Anthony, Gordon Shumway Jr., Xavier Harbor, you want to get those guys the ball. You want to have them stretch the field, which is what LSU has been known for the past few seasons. Just absolute air raid down the field. And even with a good running back like Dominic McKenzie, he only had 17 yards on 7 carries. So obviously, with the coaching change, with DT Hall coming in, I want to see them get to their top receivers and honestly run the ball more with one of these top running backs in the league.
I completely agree with you there, and exactly like you said, they're known for their air raidy offense, and that just goes to show you how great Michigan's defense played. LSU had at the time of the game they had the Texas Tech playbook, and as we both or all three of us know, Texas Tech playbook won the last 2 national championships, and LSU being one of those teams that won with it, and them going back to that playbook and only being able, you know, to score against Michigan 16 points, that shows a lot.
It also shows us how much the league has changed since they've won a championship. I mean, that championship was literally only 2 seasons ago, but teams have gotten better. Game playing has gotten to probably the peak of the league in 8 seasons. Teams are honestly, I believe they're starting to kind of figure out some of these top books and these air raid books that are just, you can't stop them fully, but if you consistently get those stops when they matter, I mean, at least like we saw in that game, it came out with Michigan getting a victory in Norman Bates' first game as a head coach.
Going on to the next game, Florida State taking on Colorado, and which was our first game that wasn't so close, but I will say Florida State had shown some fight there at the end.
I agree. Florida State coming in at rank 16, Colorado coming in at 14. Both first season head coaches here in the league in Swampy of Florida State and Rationale of Colorado. Colorado had the upper hand, I think, in terms of just roster and talent. The running game looked very, very solid. Florida State's running game looked good as well. I just think Colorado's passing attack and their ability to score a little bit quicker than Florida State, and kind of just, I would say, a little bit more of a polished roster currently. Florida State has a little bit more room to grow. A lot of young players that still need some improvement and some time. You got to give credit to both head coaches and the work that they've put into this offseason.
Absolutely. And even though both of these coaches are first year head coaches, I would argue Rational has a little bit more experience. He was the assistant head coach for Rutgers last season. Swampy, I believe, was defensive coordinator for Georgia. A little bit different experience for both of them, but honestly, I thought this game was closer than the score might have said. I mean, how many times do you have three 100-yard rushers in one game and another one with 70? I mean, just an absolutely great rushing attack. And I do agree with you. Florida State's passing offense just couldn't keep up with Colorado's. And Colorado's defense also played well. A lot of tackles for them, multiple TFLs, multiple sacks, and they kind of just were able to force Johnny Gray to run. And I'm hoping, honestly, next week we see a little bit more of Johnny Gray Jr. in the passing game. He's been known as more of a runner, and I kind of just want to see him branch out and become more of a complete quarterback.
I completely agree there. Um, yeah, they definitely need to be more heavy in the passing attack if they want to, keep up in these future games. But like you said, like Kay said, Florida State did show a lot of great things, and it's just week one with a brand new head coach, and I'm sure he will start to figure some things out, and we're excited to see how they turn out.
And going on into the next game of the final game of the Wednesday slate, and which was probably one of the best games I have watched in quite some time here in the league. Number 6 Cincinnati taking on number 5 North Carolina, in which UNC coming out with a almost last second touchdown win, winning 34-27.
Yeah, since he was playing lights out at first, I believe they went up. I can't remember if it was 6-0 before UNC scored, or it was 13-0 before UNC scored. But since he was playing amazing, especially for Stamps coming in first season head coach, uh, and facing a very talented UNC team, and they were winning all the way till the end, and until, like you said, the very last minute, um, you know, Hail Mary for UNC to take over the lead, and it all came thanks to a onside kick as well.
Coming into this game, I'm sure there were plenty of doubters in both teams, honestly. There's a lot of doubters about Stamps and his ability to play call. There was a lot of doubt about Windley coming back after a 5 season break from the head coaching position. And I mean, both of these coaches showed out this game. Stamps in his first game, incredible game planning. I mean, almost or over 250 yards rushing is incredible. And I think they just fell short in the passing attack. Stacy Smith, who's been one of the top quarterbacks in this league, just couldn't seem to get it going through the air. But I mean, Ryan Windley, what a performance from him to get this UNC team to win this game.
And I'll spread in a quick little bit of knowledge for this game. I believe Cincy was up 27-10 at the end of the fourth quarter until UNC scored 24 unanswered.
Yeah, it's a wild stat, and I believe it's been talked about throughout the league these past few days. That's one of, if not the biggest comeback that we've seen.
I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. We're very, very well close to it.
Yeah, top 2 or 3 for sure, if not number one.
And we'll go into the first game of the last day of our Week 1 slate on Thursday. Number 13 Arkansas taking on number 12 Ole Miss, in which Ole Miss gets a 27-23 victory.
Yeah, this game was exciting. I was very excited for this game, and the whole reason we got Rush here. I want to kind of ask Rush, what do you think about this game and how it went, and did it end up how you expected?
Absolutely not how I expected this game to go. I was stressed from the kickoff. Passing game just didn't look as well as I hoped. But I mean, Nightshade came out and had 141 yards rushing, averaging 5 per carry. Um, Defense for Ole Miss was incredible. Held freshman Xavier Robinson to 50% completion rate. But I mean, Arkansas made it close. The 2 picks at the beginning were incredible. Willie Slater had a potential defensive player of the week performance, 15 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks. And I mean, Arkansas's defense really helped them stay in it, especially late in the second half.
It was a lot closer than I was expecting if you're just looking at terms of talent between both teams, but I think the reason why it was so close, like we mentioned, is the first two drives for Ole Miss were picks, and the first play of the game for Ole Miss was an interception thrown.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see, especially week one, first game as a first season head coach. But Ole Miss, they didn't let those 2 picks devastate them, and they stayed in there and they kept playing and came out on top.
And going into the next game of the Thursday slate is number 7 Rutgers taking on number 4 Hawaii, which Hawaii gets the most points scored in week 1, getting a 59-31 victory, which was a lot closer game than the score shows.
Yeah, I was not expecting this. I knew Hawaii was most likely gonna take this game, but them scoring 59 points, definitely was not expecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, Hawaii was ranked highly in preseason. I believe they were number 4. Yes, they were ranked number 4. So we knew. I mean, it's Daniel Gunton and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. We know they were going to be one of the top teams, but to come out and have 59 points is just a testament to how good of a game planner Gunn is. And I do agree. The game felt a lot closer than the score indicates. But at least for me, while watching this game, it never felt like Hawaii was losing the grip on the lead.
I think it was 24-21 at one point, but Hawaii in that first quarter was up 17-0. And at that point, most people thought game's over. I mean, Rutgers has had a hard time scoring, but they did make the semis last season for a reason and kind of maintained majority of the roster.
Yeah, and they did a great job. Just like Ole Miss when they threw 2 picks, they didn't, you know, they kind of looked past it and just kept fighting. And same thing with Rutgers. They, like you said, went down 0-17, but they didn't let that stop them, and they made it a close game there in the middle. And then Hawaii, like Rush said, Gunn's game planning was just phenomenal in this game, and Hawaii just took it in the end.
Going into our final game of week 1, we had number 15 Missouri versus number 11 Georgia, with Georgia getting a 38-13 victory.
Yeah, Georgia being, Rush's previous team, I'll let him kind of go over this and his thoughts about this game.
Yeah, so coming into the season, I had I wouldn't say full doubts about this Georgia team, but you're going to have doubts when transitioning from one quarterback to another. very different play styles between Ontario Zachary and Memphis Reigns. Zachary is one of the scramblers in the league. I'm not going to say one of the best. He's definitely one of the scramblers. And Memphis Reigns has been known as a pocket passer, but they came out in this game and just slung the ball very well. Vincent Lawless, even on the ground, had 85 yards. But the X factor on this Georgia team was Malik Austin. I mean, 9 catches for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. And even if you look past him, Jeff Duffy had 10 for 104 and a touchdown. This passing attack for Georgia looks better than it has been the last 2 seasons. And that makes Georgia a very deadly team going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, Georgia just they looked phenomenal in the air, like you said, and having two wide receivers over 100, one almost over 200 and 3 touchdowns, and Malik Austin. It's hard to lose games when you're putting up those numbers. And yeah, I believe I believe they're facing you next week, right, Rush?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be a great game, and I'm excited for it.
And that is all the games for week one. What do we think of our what our pick is for the Brotherhood Blitz game of the week?
Yeah, Rush, if you want to, we all know what the pick is. If you want to go ahead and do the honors.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple really good games this week. I mean, Texas Miami is definitely up there, LSU and Michigan, but I think I wouldn't say it's a consensus because everyone's going to have their opinions, but at least between us three, UNC and Cincy was one of the best games I've seen in this league, which I've been here a little shorter time than you guys, but I mean, what a comeback by UNC.
Well, Dylan's only been here since season 6 too, actually.
Really?
Well,
He was here the same season you were.
midway through season 5,
You're the
but
only
yes,
Well, yeah, but like player wise, you and coaching
Oh,
wise, only since season 6. But
correct.
besides the point, both of y'all have been here, around the same ish time. And even I've been here since season 4, and that was by far one of the best games I've watched.
Going on to our hit stick play of the week, we did have a couple options sent in by Swampy. So thank you to head coach Swampy for sending these in. We did pick one, and I'll just go ahead and roll the clip.
They want more than that. Knight going to step up, throw it. He gets hit. That's Kelby. Big soldier upended.
Yeah, what an amazing hit that was. I believe that was number 45 of Florida State, Justin Henry, laying a big hit. So thank you to Swampy for sending that clip in. And, like we've always said, if you ever see a big hit that you want to be shown or, spotlighted on the podcast here, just clip it in Twitch chat and DM me or my brother 49K, and we will be sure to give it a look and give you a shout out.
Yeah, once again, appreciate Swampy for sending a few submissions in, and we'll get into our next point here. Let's talk about players of the week. Start with offensive player of the week. We got Malik Austin, wide receiver of Georgia, Michael Woodard, QB of Hawaii, Ryan Winley, QB of North Carolina, Memphis Reigns, QB of Georgia, Tyshawn Washington, halfback of Cincinnati, Kelby Big Soldier, halfback of Colorado, Rashad Mr. Vimy, halfback of Florida State, Muddy Blunt's wide receiver of North Carolina, Oliver Roberts, wide receiver of North Carolina, and Thad Castle, tight end of Michigan.
defensively, a lot of great performances this week, but the poll is Willie Slater, middle linebacker out of Arkansas, Hunter Shook, outside linebacker out of Miami, Raylan Crenshaw, free safety out of Maryland, Sakalata, defensive end out of USC, Infamous Debo, defensive end out of Maryland, Jay Wilson, safety out of Texas, Greatest Chosen, cornerback out of Hawaii, Lee Russ, outside linebacker out of Georgia, True Powers, defensive end out of Texas, and Houston Wilson, middle linebacker out of Ole Miss.
And on special teams, we have Jacob Sedera, cornerback of Rutgers, Tyler Maddox, cornerback of Ole Miss, Damon Williams III, wide receiver of Michigan, Doc Holliday, wide receiver of Colorado, and Gregory Reynosa, cornerback of Mizzou.
And congrats to the winner for the Brotherhood Blitz Offensive Player of the Week, Michael Woodard, QB of Hawaii, who went 31 for 39, 345 yards, 8.8 average, and 3 touchdowns through the air, and also had 16 attempts for 38 yards, 2.4 average, and a touchdown on the ground.
And our pick for Defensive Player of the Week is going to go to Hunter Shook, outside linebacker out of Miami. He had 7 tackles, a sack, an interception, and a fumble recovery that went for 62 yards and almost a touchdown.
And on special teams, our pick is going to go to Jacob Sedera, cornerback of Rutgers, who had 7 kick returns for 192 yards with an average of 27.4. So congratulations to all 3 of those.
And we'll get into week 2 of season 8, and we'll quickly go through these games. And Dylan, if you kind of want to get us started.
Yeah, opening up week 2, we have UNC taking on USC, and which is going to be another great week opener. You know, North Carolina coming off a comeback win, USC coming off a loss to Maryland. Uh, both these teams, still, a top half team and looking to stay that way in this game. And Rush, do you have any key points to this game?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the coaching. I mean, both of these rosters are absolutely incredible, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to experience. Sakalata, very new head coach, obviously his first season, but I think this is going to go in UNC's favor. I think Windley is an incredible coach, and I think they're going to pull out this win here.
Interesting. I am also kind of quickly going to pick UNC also to win this game, and I think the passing wides for North Carolina is going to be the big difference maker.
Yeah, I agree. USC has a fantastic roster, but I think them coming off a loss. First season head coach, he's definitely gonna he has the talent around him to find some things that are gonna work this season, and have a shot for playoffs. But I think a week 2 matchup against UNC is just a little too tough. But I could be wrong. We could see an upset here, but I do have UNC taking this one.
And going into the second game of the Tuesday slate, we got Missouri taking on Florida State.
Yeah, this one's quite an interesting one. Both of these teams coming off a loss, looking for their first win of this season. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. This is a game that I really am not 100% sure on my pick for who wins this game.
Yeah, I
Same
think
boat.
I think it's going to be really interesting here. Mizzou, obviously, coming off a season they didn't have a win, and I think this is going to be their best chance to get it. But I gotta go with my boy, former staff on Georgia. I'm gonna go with Swampy and Florida State.
Interesting. Okay. I don't hate the pick. I don't hate the pick at all, actually. This is such a game that can go so south for either team. I think if I had to pick a team, I think the experience of Rory and them trying to get that team together to get their first win in program history. Like we mentioned, this is probably the best game and best shot they have this season to get a win. Their schedule is not very easy, to say the least. I am going to pick Missouri if I had to pick somebody.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Kay here. I think Mizzou, with the experience like you said, I think they're just going to barely top Florida State, but I do think it's well, it might not even be a close game. This might be a shutout, and I could see it being a shutout either way. But I do think the experience from Ruri is going to show here, and Mizzou's going to come out on top.
Going on to the Wednesday portion of week 2, you got Maryland taking on LSU in a rain game.
Yeah, light rain and moderate wind. And as we all know, moderate wind is the craziest the wind can get in the sim league. And, it's not something you really want when you're a coach playing against these conditions. So we're going to have to see, especially with the rain too, we're going to have to see how these run games are going to go. And I do think that's going to benefit Maryland in this game, and I am going to go ahead and say Maryland's going to pull this one off against LSU.
Do agree with you. I think Maryland's going to get this win, but I think it's going to be close. New head coach DT Hall, new offensive system. This could go either way, but I think Maryland's rushing attack is just going to be better than LSU's. I think Monty Parson is a better scrambler, and I think Maryland's going to take this.
I
Here we go.
I'm actually going to go LSU. I do think Maryland is the better team currently. They do have a more experienced quarterback. LSU, new head coach, new offensive system, also new quarterback. Don't know how he's going to play. I just think the overall experience of DT Hall and the little bit of unpredictability of rain and moderate wind, I'm gonna pick LSU. I'll keep it there.
Interesting. Going on to the second game of the Wednesday slate, we have Ole Miss taking on Georgia, and which is going to be an amazing game, and this is probably the game I'm most excited for.
Yeah, this game literally, that's probably my pick for sleeper game of the week. You got battle of former assistant head coach for Georgia taking on Georgia, his old former team. Ole Miss versus Georgia. They're right there, almost border-wise. This game could be interesting. No rain, no funny shenanigans for weather. It's just Georgia, the way they played, their passing attack. Can Ole Miss get those stops that they need? I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm obviously a little biased, but I think this game is going to come down to whoever has the ball last. I think both of these offenses are going to be running on all cylinders. I think it's going to be up to which defenses get the most stops and who has the ball last. I think it's going to be a close game, but obviously I'm going to take my Rebels over anyone in the league.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all here. I think Ole Miss is going to pull this one off. Like you said, Kay, no funny business in the weather. It's just strictly game plan versus game plan, in which makes this game super interesting because you would like to think both of these coaches kind of know each other and kind of know how each other plans. And it's going to be interesting to see. It's like a big chess game in this one, and I'm excited for it. But I also agree, and I'm going to take Ole Miss.
That's actually the point I was just about to make. It's going to be a big old game of chess, and we'll see who can get the checkmate at the end.
Going on to the last game of the Wednesday slate, we have Texas taking on Cincinnati in a overcast, calm, and cool afternoon.
Yeah, Rush, I'll let you go in. I'll save my thoughts for that game for last.
Yeah, I think this is also a potential for game of the week. It wasn't my pick, but it was in the back of my head. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. We saw how Cincy came out against UNC, but unfortunately, Cincinnati, you fought the good fight against UNC. Texas is going to be a different beast. I'm taking Texas in this one.
Yeah, being a game planner for Texas, obviously with the Sims I've seen, Cincinnati is not going to be easy, and they definitely have a squad over there. They put up some great numbers against UNC. It's going to be a dogfight, and I think it's definitely gonna. I would definitely say bet on the over in this game, if there ever was one. But I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. But obviously, I'm going to have to take Texas.
So I'll quickly give my thoughts on the game. Stamps, well, first of all, good luck next this upcoming Wednesday. It's yeah, you got a tough first games in your first season as head coach. I'm gonna pick. I'm just get it that way. I am picking Texas, obviously being the head coach, but also looking at the sims that me and Dylan have done over the last few days, a lot harder game than we anticipated. Obviously, Cincy being former Virginia Tech, they basically got the same roster, so we always knew how tough that Virginia Tech roster was. But under a new head coach, I'm excited to see the fight that you give us.
Going on to the first game of the Thursday slate, we have Michigan taking on Hawaii, in which this is either going to be really ugly or a very close game, and I can't really make up my mind on which I think it's going to be.
I am also in that same boat because obviously Michigan only scored 17 points last week. Hawaii scored 59. So I think it's a little bit of battle of defense versus offense because Michigan's defense held LSU, who we thought, had this, prolific passing attack, and, picking the Texas Tech book, only putting up 16. So is Michigan able to kind of do the same work to Hawaii, who put up the most points in week one at 59? Gonna be tough to say. I am gonna go with Hawaii on this pick, but I think it's gonna come down to the defenses, the defense for Michigan. Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it really depends on how well Norman Bates, head coach of Michigan, does with his defensive game planning. We saw what gun in this offense can do for Hawaii, and they could come out and put up 30 in the first half, and you barely blinked. So it's really dependent on this Michigan defensive game plan and also how well they can do offensively. They only put up 17 points in week one. You're going to need more to beat Hawaii. That all being said, I'm going to take the Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. They're definitely going to have to score more than 17 if they want to even be close to Hawaii. It's going to come down to can Michigan put up those points to keep up with Hawaii, and then also can Michigan's defense make just enough stops to keep their offense ahead. But like like with y'all, I'm going to have to take Hawaii in this one.
And going on to the next game on the Thursday slate, you have Arkansas taking on formerly ranked one Miami, in which both these head coaches are going to be pissed off.
Yeah, it's not going to be a pretty game. I'm not going to lie. Um, yeah, Miami coming off a loss against Texas, losing their number one spot. They're very angry, and I think they're about to put some numbers on Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Arkansas has a good team. Absolutely nothing against them. And they're understandably upset after last week losing. But the difference between Arkansas being upset and Miami being upset is Miami has the best roster in the league by far. I I think it's going to be Miami by multiple scores.
Yeah, I'm gonna pitch off of you, Rush. Miami has the best team on paper in the league, and it's not even close. The next closest I think is like four or so overall away from Miami, and that's Texas, who just beat them. I do think Miami is going to figure out the offense, figure out how to limit the turnovers, and it just sucks that Arkansas has to go face Miami the week after. I'm also going to pick Miami by at least 3 scores.
Yeah, and if I hadn't said it earlier, I am picking Miami, um, also by at least 2 or 3 scores.
Going on into the last game of week 2, you got Colorado taking on Rutgers in the one of 2 snow games this season.
Yeah, it's another light snow, moderate wind game, and these sort of games, they're so unpredictable. You're gonna have to come out with some running, um, and it's gonna be an interesting matchup. Colorado coming off a win, Rutgers coming off a loss. Uh, Man, it's with the weather, it's tough. Um, I My heart is saying Colorado, my head is saying Rutgers.
Interesting. Rush, what do you
So,
think?
so I'm sure you guys noticed this, but this is head coach Rational's return to New Jersey. He is going to play his former team at Rutgers in the snow. Like this is football weather. This is what you want to see on your TV at night when you're watching football. I think Rational is going to get the upset here. I think he's a great coach going against his former team. He very much wants to win. I completely understand that feeling in the same week of the season. I think this is going to be a great game. I think Rational is going to get the win.
Yeah, I think the big thing is going to be the rushing attack, honestly, for both teams. Both teams run the ball very well. I do think the rushing attack for Colorado is slightly better. It could come down to just time of possession, who has the ball last, and turnovers. I'm also going to be going with the upset, and Colorado is winning this one.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. I'm gonna take, like I said, my heart's telling me Colorado, so I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna pick Colorado. Um, like I said, it's gonna come down to time of possession and not fumbling in this weather.
And that is all for week 2 and all for our second episode of season 2 and season 8 of the VGL. Dylan, my co-host, thank you for putting on a pretty good podcast, I'd like to say. And Rush, thank you for joining us, being our second guest, and we appreciate the time you're able to give us for this episode.
Of
Yeah, thank
course,
you, Rush.
anytime, man. I would love to come back.
Oh, for sure.
No, definitely figure out a time for you to come back. And well, that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to the Brotherhood Blitz all here on YouTube. We can't wait to see how week 2, unfolds. And you're listening to the Brotherhood Blitz.